In May, I received dividends from 3 companies. I received my single largest dividend, and it was my biggest month of dividends ever. My portfolio is now sitting at £16,100, and since switching over to Trading 212, I've made some great new additions, including a new addition in a new market. And in this video, I'm going to give you my experience using Trading 212 and Freetrade at the same time. Let's get into the video. The first dividend I received in May was on the 15th from Realty Income. This is a monthly dividend payer, so we'll be seeing this every month. Realty Income is an American real estate investment trust that invests in commercial real estate and has tenants such as B&Q and Tesco here in the UK and some other big names in the US. The price is currently sitting at $53, so it's kind of been getting beaten up at the moment. Down 1.6% in May and almost down 10% this year. It's been up and down as the consensus on interest rates keeps changing, and the stock is actually just following whether the market thinks that interest rates will be cut sooner rather than later. Hopefully, when inflation finally falls to that target of 2%, they'll cut interest rates and this stock will start to see some gains. It's always interesting to see that when interest rates are high, cash flows out of these dividend-paying companies. But when interest rates start to come down again, the cash will flow back into these dividend-paying companies. I've invested about £2,000 into Realty Income and I'm down about £200, which is about 10%. And it's one of my bigger positions in the portfolio, sitting at about 13%. The current dividend yield is about 6%. And with my 43.3 shares, I received £7.45 from Realty Income this month. On the 21st of May, I received a huge dividend from Lloyds Banking Group. Lloyds is one of the UK's largest financial organisations, and it's actually one of the most well-known high street banks. The stock has been doing really well recently, up 6% in May and up 15.5% since the start of the year. Interest rates have been serving this company very well in recent months, alongside all of the other big banks. They pay a very good dividend at 5%, and with my 1,500 shares, Lloyds paid me my biggest dividend ever. I received £28.15. My final dividend was from Aviva on the 23rd. I actually sold out of my Aviva stock. I spoke about this in my last video. I only had about £100 invested in Aviva, and I wasn't really confident in buying more into the company, although I kind of wish I had now. The stock has done really well in recent months. From the £100 I had invested, I received £5.35 from Aviva this month. My total dividends I received for the month of May was £40.95. It was my biggest month in dividends since my last biggest month, which was in September 2023, even though I only received dividends from 3 companies. Now let's take a look at the performance of my portfolio. So this is the dashboard of my investing spreadsheet. As you can see, my portfolio value is sitting at £16,095. My total invested is £14,520. And my cash in the account is £1,574. I like to keep a bit of a cash holding so that if I see a stock dip in price, I can actually buy it up when I want to instead of having to wait for my cash to build up again. My total return is currently sitting at about 14%, which is stock market returns plus my total dividends that I've received. And that amounts to £1,825. You can see my portfolio breakdown here, which is 15% in an ETF, 36% in the UK, and about 48% in the US. My position in the UK is becoming smaller and smaller as I realise that I shouldn't have so much holding in the UK economy. And I want to make sure that my US position is actually a lot bigger. This middle pie chart here is my investing breakdown by sector. You can see that my 2 biggest sectors are consumer defensive at 20% and technology at 20%. My ETF position is sitting at 16%. And my real estate position is sitting at 13%. And there are a few other smaller positions in other sectors. This is the pie chart by stock. And you can see here that my 2 biggest ones are Realty Income down here and VWRL over here on the left, which is an ETF. This waterfall graph over here shows my invested money to the market value, which is the gain or loss, which is the portfolio performance, and then the cash I have holding in the portfolio to then give me the total portfolio value at £16,100. I have my goals here. My short-term goal is actually a £20,000 portfolio, which I'll hopefully be able to hit by the end of this year. My next goal, £100 in monthly dividends. I think I'm going to be changing that goal simply because I'm going to focus less on dividends and more on portfolio performance. My long-term goal is 10 years of investing. I think that's a good goal to have. So it keeps me thinking about it for a long time. I've nearly been investing for 2 years now, so I've got 8 years to go. Another goal that I added was making an ETF a core position of the portfolio. And I think the goal would be to have it as 25% of the portfolio. Currently, they're at 16%. There's a little ways to go there. If we come over to the dividend dashboard, we can see here, this is a breakdown by dividends. This graph here shows the dividends I received year on year. So my first year of dividends, which is from September 2022 to August 2023. And then my year 2 is September 2023 to May right now. So you can see I'm way ahead of where I was a year ago. You can see this graph here, which is the dividends by month. May 2024, my dividends is the biggest I've ever had. Like I said, previous biggest ever was September. Over here, my dividends by sector. So my biggest dividend sector is real estate, and that's purely realty income, mainly because they're a big portion of my portfolio and they also pay monthly. So that's why they're such a big part. And then consumer defensive, again, they're a big portion of the portfolio, and they also, I think most of them pay quarterly. So if we come over to the info tab, I'll quickly show you the positions I have in the portfolio. And then after that, I'll take you through the Freetrade and the Trading 212 app just to show you each individual one. We can see that my two biggest positions are realty income at £2,000 invested and VWRL, which I've invested about £1,800. Three other positions, which are sitting at around £1,000. Then all the other positions are slightly smaller, around about £500 to £800. And you can see here that the position sizes of each of the positions. Then we have our dividends received per company. Again, you can see realty income makes up the bulk of that, which is at £73 just from realty income. There are other things that you can look out on this dashboard. So I've got the daily dividend calendar, so dividends received per day throughout the year. And then I've got a monthly dividend calendar, so you can see per company who paid what per month. Let's now take a look at the performance of the portfolio on the Freetrade app. So we have a look at the Freetrade app here. We can see that looking at this graph, there's a big drop off. That's where I drew out a load of the cash and put that into the Trading 212 app. We can see that in here in the last 3 months. Even though it says plus £800, that's just gains. That big drop there is just me drawing cash out of the portfolio. It doesn't have any effect on the performance of the portfolio. So we can see in Freetrade, I have my position of realty income and all these ones down here. I'm not going to go through all of them simply because we just went through those on the dashboard, but all my dividends are coming through on the Freetrade app. So I'll just show you that here as well. I did make one addition, which was the dividends that I got paid this month. I decided to invest that straight back into realty income. Bought one share of realty income with those dividends. But if you just take a look here, you can see my position in VWRL is sitting at £1,300, and the remainder of that is actually sitting in the Freetrade app. So you can see that I've got £12,000 in this account. At some point, I will be transferring this over to Trading 212. But unfortunately, they're not letting me do that yet. But they will come, hopefully, in the next few months, because I think they said they were rolling it out by the end of June. So look forward to seeing my portfolio all consolidated into Trading 212. Now, if we come over to Trading 212, and if we have a look at the pies section, at the top, you can see the balance is £3,981. And my portfolio is sitting at £2,400. So that difference is the cash sitting in the account, which I think is accruing interest at 5.2%. on a daily basis. And you can see my investments here. I have the investment in the Indian ETF, which is down about 1%. I have my investment in Nvidia, which was actually late at the end of the month. So it's actually down 3.5%, which is, I'm invested in Nvidia because I still feel like there's gains to be made. And I think that the stock market is going to continue to rally. And I think that AI is still the play going into late 2024. I bought some Rolls-Royce because I've been wanting to buy into the gains of Rolls-Royce for a long time, but I just decided to make that decision. I bought 100 shares. I have 6 shares of the Vanguard ETF VWRL in this account, sitting at £600. And then I have a position I opened in Visa where I have about 2.35 shares. That's about £503. And you can see here throughout the last week, that's me actually just buying into positions. Let me give you an overview of what I think of both of the apps. So Freetrade, I think, is very easy to use. Like, it's very simple. The graphs look very nice. They've got all the little spikes in there. If we go have a look here at one of the a company, you can see like all the different dips and and peaks and troughs in there. They give you all the different information about what's happening with your stocks. So you've got your investment gain, loss in percentage and pounds. You've got all your activity. They give you all the details about the company, like the dividend yield and the market cap, PE ratio, all that sort of stuff. They give you analyst ratings, which I think is so interesting. They give you whether they've hit on their earnings per share estimates, all that sort of stuff. They give you upcoming dividend payments. I love it. I think it's such a good app. Activity is really good. The activity on there is really good. It's really easy to export. It comes out in a nice format. They give you your performance against the markets, all that sort of stuff. It's just a real shame that it's really expensive. It costs you about £60 a year to have stocks and shares ISA, and it's about £120 a year to have a SIP, which is kind of ridiculous. So that's why I'm switching away from them. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it as smoothly as I would have liked, simply because Trading 212 wasn't accepting in-specie transfers when I wanted to do that. I'm using both at the same time. I do prefer Freetrade currently, but Trading 212, I'm getting used to it. Realistically, I only really use the pies section, and then when I'm looking for stocks, that's about it. I don't really like the graphs as much. They don't have as much detail on them. I don't really like the layout of some of this stuff. It's kind of the same, but it's not as good. The only thing I think is better is the ETF asset allocation. So when you're looking at an ETF, like this Indian ETF, for example, they give you the asset breakdown, which is really good. I really quite like that. But I'm sure I will get used to it. I've only really been using it for a few weeks now. Any advice on using it would be great. Leave comment down below to tell me why you like it so much, whether I'm missing something about the app. The other thing, I do quite like the pies. So I spent a bit of time looking at all the pies, and I saved a load of them. No. They're in here. They're in here. And I saved a load of them. Even though I haven't invested in them, I was just sort of looking at like the daily dividend one and the war-ready growth and dividend pie that someone had made, the UK income factory pie that someone had made. I haven't invested in them, but they're quite cool to look at. So I might consider investing a bit of money in them. But yeah, that's kind of my view on the apps. Like I said, any advice? Great, thank you very much. I'll take it. Honestly, I could do with a bit of advice on how to use the app or advice on investing, really. I'm going to do a video on why I'm investing in India, by the way. I know that seems a bit random, but I have a video coming up that I will be detailing why I think you should be investing in India, and why realistically we should have been investing in India 10 years ago. So yeah, that is the end of the video. Thank you for watching this far into the video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Any suggestions on improvements to the video content or ideas for content going forward, please leave a comment below and I'll give you a reply.